I had to race to get this one out as I've ignored my roots for too long. That's right, it's once again time for some good old-fashioned competitive racism in Oblivion. It's apparently in my DNA to make these videos, but in this instance we will rank the races of Oblivion Remastered from worst to best, measuring racial traits, abilities, how they fit into the setting of Oblivion specifically, but mostly just vibes and my personal racial preferences. That's probably a phrase I shouldn't use. Regardless, if you find yourself enjoying the video, make sure to like and subscribe for more rankings, and check out my friend RogueRanks who made his own list as well. Now it's time for a race war. But before that, we have another war to discuss. Let's quickly thank a new supporter of the channel. This legendary game is definitely never in the shadows, as anyone on YouTube is very familiar with it and its nearly endless amount of content. And I recently learned due to this new partnership that Raid Shadow Legends is actually available on PC. So even if you aren't a big mobile gamer, then you can enjoy AAA graphics and an in-depth PvE experience while listening to me ramble in the background at the same time. Win-win. But don't leave yet, plant your roots for the mysterious and powerful Sylvan Watchers faction. Much like the Wood Elves of Tamriel, the Sylvan Watchers make their home deep in the jungles of the Mistwood. As I discover more, I'm honestly impressed with the amount of lore and detail that's been created for the various factions battling across the land of Teleria, where Raid takes place. Politicking and warfare have led the Sylvan Watchers to make alliances with the neighboring Shadowkin and Dwarf factions with the help of some of my favorite champions of the faction, like Loquain, the dual-wielding warrior with impeccable drip and shield-piercing abilities, or the massive and imposing Dwayden, a collection of runic stones and branches that makes for a mighty protector who can taunt. So it's time to branch out and claim a huge free starter pack featuring the epic champion Kellan the Shrike of the Sylvan Watchers using the link in the description below. After downloading with my link, use promo code TreeHugger to get the legendary champion Green Warden RogueRanks as well, only for new players, 72 hours after downloading through my custom link in the description or QR on screen only. And at level 15 you'll receive yet another epic champion with Uugo, who is, despite his name, one of the most powerful in the entire game. Also, both new and existing players can redeem 2 more promo codes with useful resources using the codes for all users in the description below. So click the links, jump in, and find me under RogueRanks, and join my clan, RogueRanks, as well. Number 10, Bosmer. Unfortunately for the Wood Elves, their race in Oblivion for me is only associated with one nightmare-inducing and eternally cursed face. Despite how amazing some of their lore can be, the Bosmer in Oblivion don't do much for me, from their attributes, racial abilities, and general place within the land of Cyrodiil. Now, I feel I must preface this and really every other entry by pointing out that this is purely my opinion, and while races can actually have a bigger impact to your playthrough than, say, in Skyrim, any race can really work for any playstyle, character, or role-playing. Choosing the race that best fits your fun character idea is always going to be the best option. That being said, outside of their innate bonuses to sneak and marksman, making them the natural fit for the classic stealth archer, there's nothing else about the Bosmer in Oblivion that draws me to them. And yes, while that's a knock against the race, I feel like my instincts are on target. Insert more archery puns. While their resist disease is fine, I find disease in Oblivion isn't nearly as big of an issue as it is in, say, Morrowind, where contracting something that drains your endurance or strength can be legitimately debilitating if you don't have a potion or spell on you to restore those attributes. In Oblivion, however, cure disease potions are plentiful, shrines are everywhere and free, and healers are quick to help. So this racial trait, while a nice little bonus, isn't anything to write Valenwood about. The much more intriguing, but arguably less useful ability is Beast Tongue, which lets a Wood Elf command a beast or creature up to level 5 for 60 seconds. But for me, this is incredibly situational, as the level is too low to really command anything cooler than the occasional wolf or bear, or of course the all-powerful rat. And the chances in which one of those is nearby to be used against enemies gets increasingly slimmer as the game progresses, in my experience. Commanding the beasts of the wild to fight for you on your side sounds so awesome, but in actual functionality, I find it extremely lacking. As far as their integration within the world, Bosmer are just kind of there, always seemingly in the background, lacking any distinct identity of their own. Visually, like pretty much all races, Bosmer got a significant glow up in the remaster, and while you can make a fairly badass looking Wood Elf in game, I wish they were more visually distinct from the Altmer, as the two can look extremely similar to me. However, they did kind of look the same at times in the original, so I can't fault it too much here. Overall, Wood Elves remain a race where I feel their lore heavily outweighs the bonuses and traits they receive in the actual game, and pushing their uniqueness with that lore further would have been appreciated. As it stands, these short little guys remain bottom of the list. Number 9, Imperial. I really wanted to give our Imperial friends a break, especially in their own game, but hey, at least they aren't last place again like my previous lists, so progress? While there's a time and place for a much more vanilla generic race to sort of paste whatever type of character you want on it, that time and place is not in my list. Despite being the focus and primary resident of Oblivion, the Imperials still do almost nothing for me in their attributes, racial abilities, and aesthetics. Though that being said, I have played many of them across various playthroughs over the years because of their natural role as the canon player race in the game. game. Imperials are the most likable and charismatic of the races within the world of Tamriel, having bonuses to speechcraft and mercantile for their skills, and personality for their attribute, allowing them to riz their way through the game with relative ease when talking with others. While they do feature many combat-focused minor skills, I find the major skills underwhelming, and only really conducive to certain classes, whether default or custom in a very marginal sense. I found I usually completely forget about their Star of the West trait, which allows you to absorb 100 points of fatigue once per day, but even in more difficult fights, I rarely remember to utilize this skill as it's just that forgettable to me. Handy in a pinch maybe, but I think granting more than one use per day would have helped a lot in emphasizing its power and making it much more useful in general. The highlight feature for Imperials is the Voice of the Emperor, where you can magically charm your way into the good graces of pretty much anyone in the game, for 30 seconds. Being so charming, even temporarily, does have its uses, especially when bartering or trading, but it's not a feature I find completely makes the race for me. Still, I can't deny I do like the flavor of it, and I think having a charisma-focused race is a very cool idea. It's just unfortunate it comes with the major downside of, well, playing an Imperial. In all honesty, playing a type of bard or likable leader character is a very natural and great fit for an Imperial, and while the Voice of the Emperor isn't exactly like,
"Everybody chill! It's cool now,"
as it can't be used in combat situations to potentially diffuse them, I can't deny just how great the flavor and role-playing potential of it is. As far as aesthetics, I mentioned earlier that they do nothing for me, and I stand by it, as they are the most boring human-looking humans in the game. They are the just a guy race, where if you want to just be some guy, then this is probably your best bet. Interesting to note that Oblivion has built-in racism within the gameplay mechanics, where races will receive bonuses or negative dispositions to the player based on their own race. But for Imperials, everyone remains completely neutral when it comes to disposition, as no race, even other Imperials, don't like or dislike you innately. While pure neutrality is probably the best you can hope for considering how racist the setting can be, this adds to the pure blank slate vanilla feeling of the race to me. But hey, sometimes vanilla is the most appealing flavor, so for you Empire lovers out there, go crazy. Number 8, Nord. Clearly this is no Nordinary list, as you'll probably find many players rank Nord quite high, and I don't want to leave those players out in the cold, as the fair-skinned residents of Skyrim don't really have many downsides within Oblivion, and in fact they may even be a favorite race based on the love of Skyrim among the majority of fans. Built to be tanks, Nords feature innate blade, blunt, and heavy armor skills, with bonuses to strength and endurance, making them one of the best straight-up warrior races within the game. Though sometimes I find these are skills that level so quickly regardless, that to me these bonuses aren't quite as impactful as maybe other major skill focuses. But I can't deny the attribute bonuses are pretty nice to have. So attribute and skill wise we're doing really well. But what about the racial features? Whoa, dude. Sorry, Woad is a shielding skill that lets you absorb 30% of damage for 1 minute per day. Very handy for some more difficult fights, and usually my oh shit panic button when playing. Being from the snowy lands of Skyrim, the Nords, as you can expect, have a very powerful passive frost resistance, which is moderately useful in my humble opinion. Frost is a damage type you will actually see regularly in Oblivion, but the resistance to it I don't find particularly game-breaking or chilling. The highlight feature for me with the Nords is their Nordic Frost, which lets them blast 50 points of pure frost damage into any enemy unfortunate enough to stand in their way, but only once per day. This is a shockingly powerful ability, especially in the early game, as it's capable of nuking pretty much anything you will face in lower levels almost instantly. So given all this, why do I have Nord this low? Well, for purely superficial, preferential reasons, which are the best ones of all and definitely won't trigger fierce debate in the comments. But I just don't find Nords fit all that well into the world of Oblivion outside of very specific characters and role-playing. For some reason, and it's a personal problem, I have trouble enjoying playing a Nord outside of the stock barbarian or straight up warrior archetype, as even aesthetically they just don't fit in my mind with other types of characters or builds. Speaking of aesthetics though, I do think they look absolutely badass in the remaster. Obviously I have to go with the defaults here, as the monstrosities you can make with pretty much every race is worthy of the original. Nords though, with their fierce blue eyes and light hair, stand out and in heavy plate look just plain cool. So while relatively low on my list, I think they are an awesome race, well deserving of many fun playthroughs and characters. Number 7, Altmer. Despite how powerful they might be in-game, my disdain for these snooty, arrogant high elves means they cannot get higher than 7th on the list, and I'm not sorry for that. The most elite mages and casters within the entirety of the Elder Scrolls, the Altmer are of course a natural fit for any spell-slinging playthrough, though their racial abilities make that much more interesting than you might think. With bonuses to intelligence and reductions to strength, speed, or endurance, based on your origin choice, every Altmer innate skill is magical in nature, with with destruction, mysticism, and alteration as major, and alchemy, conjuration, and illusion as minor skills. While those all help greatly, especially with early game casting, their passive high elf enhanced magic racial trait is the real powerhouse of their power. This feature essentially doubles your available mana pool, which in my experience counteracts the most annoying part of any mage playthrough, in the early game especially, which is the constant mana starvation. Given how powerful magic is in Oblivion, arguably brokenly overpowered, this would naturally make Altmer one of the best races within the entire game, right? Wrong. This is high elf propaganda, which is fitting considering how racist they are. What they won't tell you is how weak and pitiful they are against magic themselves, taking an increased 25% damage from fire, frost, and shock damage permanently. While this plus their weaker physical attributes makes them the glass cannons of Oblivion, honestly, it's really not that big of a deal, by again considering how powerful magic is within the game, making you more than capable of nuking enemies before they can even get close enough to see how spindly you might be as a high elf. Unfortunately for the Altmer, they received one of the biggest nerfs in the entirety of the remaster, as all player character races are now inexplicably the same height. So in addition to playing a disgusting high elf, you don't even get the joy of literally looking down your nose at lesser races like you could in the original. However, this height equality seems to only apply to the player character, so it's likely a bug that I hope gets resolved, as not only did it give you that feeling of superiority as a high elf, but it actually gave you the longest leg stride in the game, making them the naturally fastest race within all of Oblivion. Aesthetically, I can't lie, they look fantastic with their golden skin and elven features. Very elegant, but very, very arrogant. So while I throw shade at the high elves, I can't deny just how fun these bastards can be from both a role-playing and gameplay perspective. Number 6, Argonian. Oh, my beautiful, scaly boys, what have they done to you? I've seen a lot of praise for how the Argonians look in the remaster, and while I want to grade them on a scale, I can't help but feel we've kind of lost the plot a little bit here. I don't think they look terrible. In fact, I think they look really great in their own unique, somewhat goofy way, but just not Argonian, if that makes sense. And certainly not close to the original, which, okay, yeah, it's probably a good thing for mass appeal. The denizens of Black Marsh Argonians remain one of my absolute favorite races within all of Elder Scrolls, but in the Oblivion Remaster, I'm finding myself more hesitant to play one so far. Lore-wise, they remain probably my second favorite race, though they can be difficult to easily categorize into a set class or playstyle, which is actually part of their strength for me. Though I tend to play Argonians as light, sneaky fighters with their bonuses to agility and speed, for those of the Arnesia origin at least, they actually make pretty good casters, and are my preferred race for a sneaky magic user. With major skill bonuses in athletics and security and minor bonuses in alchemy, blade, illusion, and mysticism, Argonians have a very particular set of skills. Hang on, I gotta go make a new character for a Liam Neeson playthrough. Skills that give you the freedom to play them really in any way that you want, though of course they won't be the most powerful straight up warriors relatively speaking. Unfortunately for the Argonians, they arguably have the most boring racial features, with all of them being passive abilities, but I still think they're very flavorful to the race. Full on permanent water breathing is just straight up convenient, and makes me wish underwater exploration was more fully utilized throughout the game. But resistances against poison and disease, while fitting for these swamp dwelling lizards, isn't exactly the most impactful or engaging gameplay wise. Though the poison resist can be particularly handy in the later half of the game. So where does that leave Argonians for me? Well, I still think they allow for a very diverse and badass assortment of character types and role-playing options, and I absolutely love their lore and place within the world of Tamriel and Oblivion. I can't help but feel ever so slightly disappointed with their appearance in the remaster. Don't get me wrong, visually it's of course a complete upgrade, arguably the biggest upgrade and deviation from the original low-res potato graphics, but they're just way more dragonborn than humanoid lizard to me. The wide-set jaw, much more pronounced and large snout, is at odds with the more classic, very much more lizard-like appearance I associate with the Argonians, especially my primary reference, which is Morrowind. So while I still love the race and will be playing my classic shadow scale assassin, certainly in the remaster, as I love being a literal cold-blooded killer, they still remain in the lower half of the list. Number 5, Redguard. The indomitable warriors of Hammerfell, Redguard have some of the more flavorful and vibrant lore among the human races, and remain one of the best straight-up warrior races within the entire game. Seafarers and swordsmen, Redguards are absolutely badass in pretty much every entry within the series, and I love role-playing as a traveling mercenary or blade master with this particular race. I find Redguards throughout the series tend to be more memorable than not as well. In Oblivion, specifically, they enjoy innate bonuses to strength and endurance, having major skills in blade, blunt, and athletics, and minor in armor, block, heavy armor, and mercantile. All ones that lend themselves to a character who rushes into the thick of combat, sword in hand, and without much further thought. From a role-playing perspective, they honestly share a lot of similarities with Nord in that they may feel a bit limited to a warrior archetype, without much opportunity or room for exploration in other roles, especially with their negative willpower and intelligence attributes. For me personally, however, for one reason or or another, I find I don't feel quite as constrained as I do with Nords, and making a Spellblade or lighter combatant Redguard in my mind fits fairly well with their unique vibe and aesthetic. The standout feature for Redguard is the fact that they are adrenaline junkies, and their adrenaline rush allows you to become a whirlwind of death in close combat, giving you 50 more points of strength, endurance, agility, speed, and health. It's genuinely one of the best racial abilities within the entire game, and can make you feel like an absolute beast in battle. Visually, the Redguards in the remaster look significantly improved, though I can't help but feel by default, they look a bit too worn, rugged, and older, which can limit some of your more visual role-playing options. Redguard remain a standout race overall, and can be fun to play through Oblivion, as you can easily play the traveling warrior hailing from a distant land, though my own personal preferences for the next few races put them in the middle of the pack for this list. Number 4, Orc. If I'm gonna go straight up warrior though, while it might be awkward how much I love these brutish green machines, I generally prefer the orcs for that playstyle. Big, tough, burly, the orc is a favorite for barbarian or warrior builds, and for good reason, as this powerful and proud race is once again one of my favorites within the series from their lore, appearance, unique armor, strongholds, and history. The Orsimer are a rugged people, apparent in their racial features and focuses, with bonus willpower, endurance, and strength for attributes, and armor, heavy armor, block, and blunt for their skills. Where orcs are weak is of course with magic and notably personality, as they uniquely experience the highest baseline level of racism in the game, where almost every single character you meet will automatically have a -5 disposition to you solely due to your race. Well, besides other orcs who are at best neutral. This creates some unique social gameplay for orcs, though to be honest that racism isn't really pushed that far, and a -5 disposition is easily dealt with through some simple insults and jokes. Even still, I think it makes for a relatively unique playthrough and role-playing opportunity, as you can play into the nature of the orc and remain entirely unlikable, or attempt to charm and change the minds of the people in Cyrodiil as you progress. Orcs' racial traits put them above others for me and make for my favorite full-on melee build, that of the heavily armored warrior and berserker who charges with axe in hand to just tear shit up. Here is where the trait Berserk shines, fortifying your strength, agility, and health greatly at the cost of your stamina, being the closest we can get in-game to a traditional D&D barbarian rage, which makes for some very fun gameplay moments. The innate orcish magic resistance of 25% can also massively make a difference as well, as you will shrug off blows and magical effects to get up close and personal with those pesky and annoying mages. Visually, orcs are a little rough looking in the remaster, having a significant glow up of course from their green potato faces in the original, but looking extremely rugged, scarred, and brutish instead. They're really not meant to be attractive or appealing in really any way outside of their pure ferocity, and that fits given how much people just dislike them in general. Though I do wish there were a few more unique customization options for them. An incredibly cool race, orcs are well deserving of a spot near the top of my list, and remain one of my favorites within all of the Elder Scrolls. Number 3, Khajiit. Rogue has even more videos if you have likes and subscribes. Flawless execution. Furries unite as Khajiit continue to rank high in my list of races. Despite Wood Elves technically making for better stealth archers, if I'm going sneaky stalker or thief, I just have to be a Khajiit, as it's way too fitting to be an actual cat burglar over anything else. Masters of stealth and cunning, the Khajiit enjoy innate bonuses to acrobatics, hand to hand with their vicious claws, light armor, sneak, blade, and security, in addition to increased agility. Stealth and thievery has always been a favorite playstyle of mine across every Elder Scrolls game, given the hilarious situations you can create and adapt to with the NPCs and their AI. And the Khajiit are the perfect race for that role. Khajiit rank this high for me due to how much I just enjoy playing as one, and how much I enjoy that particular playstyle, though I honestly think they make for great light armored combatants in their own right. While they may not be the strongest or toughest, they make up for it in sheer speed and tenacity, where Khajiit suffers on the magical front, as they have almost no bonuses that help with their mageness, and despite doing a playthrough as one in Skyrim where I became the Archmage, or should I say Archmeowage, I never felt like the race fully realizes that magical fantasy for me. Where some might find Khajiit a little underwhelming are their racial traits, with Eye of Night giving you essentially night vision 30 seconds at a time, and Eye of Fear allowing you to stare down and demoralize an enemy for 30 seconds once per day. Eye of Night is okay, though I find Oblivion's dungeons and caves rarely get dark enough to justify needing it, outside of maybe some underwater sections, though Eye of Fear can be pretty helpful if you're getting swarmed or overwhelmed in combat. Causing an enemy to flee so you can focus on another, or retreat and reset, can be very situationally useful, especially for a long-range character. Visually, this is probably a hot take. I honestly never thought Khajiit looked that bad in Oblivion, though some could look like someone snorted a little too much skooma, but in the remaster, they're absolutely majestic chads. with fierce feline features and a much more pronounced lion or panther-like snout. The variety of fur types, including stripes and dots, is welcome, and I think you can make an extremely badass looking kitty. All in all, Khajiit are one of the coolest races within Oblivion, and really just the Elder Scrolls, specializing in one of the most broken and overpowered playstyles within the game. Number 2, Dunmer. It hurts my soul to not have the Dunmer as number 1. Is this truly how I honor the 6th house and the tribe unmourned? However, despite ranking them number 1 in my overall Elder Scrolls race rankings, they drop all the way to 2nd best, in Oblivion specifically. The Dunmer will always be my absolutely favorite race, from their incredible lore and personalities to their skills and attribute focus. While I just love the Dark Elves on principle, it's helped that they excel at my favorite playstyle within the entire series, that of the destructive and powerful spellsword, spreading death and ruin with blade and destruction magic alike. But Dunmer, for some reason, for me, are one of the most adaptable and varied of the races, easily able to excel at magic, melee, or stealth, or a combination of all three. Playing a heavily armored Dunmer shock trooper, or a full dark elf mage or necromancer, or a speedy stealthy caster, any and all playstyle just fits this race to me from a role-playing perspective. In Oblivion, however, I find they can struggle to fit into the overall plot and story as well as I'd like at times, which brings them down to 2nd place despite my love of the race. I just don't really picture the hero of Kvatch as a Dunmer, though it really doesn't matter that much to the narrative. Though I do find their racial traits in Oblivion extremely useful, with the ability to call upon the old bones of your dead ancestor to take some slashes and bashes on your behalf. Thank you, Grandpa Dunmer. As well as their innate fire resistance of a massive 75%. Considering you spend quite a bit of time in Oblivion diving into the fiery portals of hell itself, having a large fire resistance is something I find very helpful to shore up the likely lower endurance you have as a Dark Elf. On top of that, Dunmer just look absolutely incredible within the remaster, capturing the gaunt, menacing power of the race. The default blood red and black eyes and textures of their ashen skin color make them stand out and look appropriately sinister. With a mix of martial and magical skills, Dunmer, with the right build and sign, can easily become one of the most powerful hybrid races within the entire game, with the added bonus of feeling comfortable being racist against pretty much everyone else. With a -10 default disposition with the disgusting Altmer and lowly Argonians, which, okay, well, that's pretty fair. Dunmer are almost as universally reviled as the Orcs, which can be a lot of fun to play into. You just can't go wrong with these ashen denizens of Morrowind. Number 1, Breton. Coming in as the best race in all of Oblivion are the unassuming Bretons. At first glance, you may think them to be somewhat bland humans, but looks can be deceiving, as Breton for me is easily the most absurdly overpowered race within the entire game. Hailing from High Rock, Bretons, due to their heritage and lineage, are extremely powerful with magic, both in the use and when on the receiving end of it. Bretons get bonuses to their intelligence and willpower, with penalties to their physical attributes such as agility, strength, speed, and endurance, depending on your origin, with skill bonuses focusing almost entirely on purely magical ones, with conjuration, mysticism, and restoration. At a glance, you may think this makes Bretons spindly, weak little virgin mages like the Altmer. But you couldn't be more wrong. Where Bretons excel is in their racial traits, with an innate, permanent, and passive 50% resistance against all magic types. This plus their dragon skin, which lets them cast a 50% damage reducing shield for 60 seconds, makes Bretons absolute tanks, and when getting to higher conjuration, alteration, and restoration spells, nigh unstoppable gods in combat, as they also enjoy a 50-point bonus to their magicka passively as well. Throw a simple magic resist ring on and you can easily get 100% magic resist, making Bretons able to face tank almost anything magical in the game, and what damage you might sustain is easily reversed with their powerful restoration skills. I brought it up in my class ranking, but where the classic holy crusading paladin with a mace in one hand and alteration and restoration in the other might not be my favorite playstyle, it is the one that best fits with the hero of Kvatch and the narrative of Oblivion, with Breton being the epitome of that particular playstyle for me. It helps that I associate their general Frenchness and race with the Bretonians of Warhammer, honorable questing knights who rely on divine grace and power to smite the evil across the land. A crusading Breton with powerful magic and defenses diving into the gates of Oblivion just fits way too well in the world, and for this strong role-playing reason and their extremely powerful racial abilities, I just have to rank them as the best race within the entire game. And there you have it. After some very competitive racism, we have our list, but let me know in the comments how you stack the various residents of Tamriel against each other. And once again, don't forget to use my Raid Shadow Legends link in the description, or scan my QR code to get an awesome jumpstart on your journey with some epic champions. That's it for me, until next time.